falling in love again, never wanted to. What am I to do? I can't help it. Love's always been my game, play it how I may. I was made that way, I can't help it.
Men cluster to me like moths around a flame, and if their wings burn, I know I'm not to blame.
Falling in love again, never wanted to. What am I to do? I can't help it. Love's always been my game, play it how I may. I was made that way, I can't help it. Falling in love again, never wanted to. What am I to do? I can't help it. What am I to do? I can't help it.
She says, wake up, it's no use pretending. I'll keep stealing, breathing her. Birds are leaving over autumn's ending. One of us will die inside these arms. Eyes wide open, as we came, one will spread our ashes round the yard. She says, if I leave before you, darling, don't you waste me in the ground. I lay smiling like our sleeping children. One of us will die inside these arms. Eyes wide open, naked as we came. One will spread our ashes round the yard.
Let me sleep in the slumber of the morning. There's nowhere I need to be, and my dreams are still are calling. Lay your troubles on the ground. No need to worry. Do not disturb me, let me be. And if you need a place to land, I'll come down when you are weary. No more clouds to put away in the slumber of the morning. Keep me with you on the ground. All of my worries behind me now. Daylight shaking through the trees. Do not disturb me, let me be. Let me sleep in the slumber of tomorrow. There's nowhere we need to be that will not be thereafter. Keep me with you on the ground. All of my worries behind me now. And be sure and wake me when eternity begins.
Falling in love again, never wanted to. What am I to do? I can't help it. Love's always been my game, play it how I may. I was made that way, I can't help it.
Men cluster to me like moths around a flame, and if their wings burn, I know I'm not to blame.
Falling in love again, never wanted to. What am I to do? I can't help it. Love's always been my game, play it how I may. I was made that way, I can't help it. Falling in love again, never wanted to. What am I to do? I can't help it. What am I to do? I can't help it.
She says, wake up, it's no use pretending. I'll keep stealing, breathing her. Birds are leaving over autumn's ending. One of us will die inside these arms. Eyes wide open. Naked as we came, one will spread our ashes round the yard. She says if I leave before you, darling, don't you waste me in the ground. I lay smiling like our sleeping children. One of us will die inside these arms. Eyes wide open. Naked as we came, one will spread our ashes round the yard.
Let me sleep in the slumber of the morning. There's nowhere I need to be, and my dreams are still our calling. Lay your troubles on the ground. No need to worry about them now. Daylight shaking through the trees. Do not disturb me. Let me be. And if you need a place to land, I'll come down when you are weary. No more clouds to put away in the slumber of the morning. Keep me with you on the ground. All of my worries behind me now. Daylight shaking through the trees. Do not disturb me. Let me be. Let me sleep in the slumber of tomorrow. There's nowhere we need to be that will not be thereafter.
Hello. Hello, hello, hello. The Spirit of God welcomes us into this place. You carry the Spirit with and within you. As we gather, we are here on behalf of family. Megan welcomes you and the larger family. All of you, I have been told, are family. And that's a beautiful thing. Family and friends, we are called into this place to remember and celebrate Bob, as you know him, who is with us even now. The beauty as we gather is that there is separation between life and death, but really that separation is a thin veil. So as we gather, be mindful and breathe in the breath of God. Bring in the beauty, the celebration. Know that Spirit resides with us and that Bob's life is ever shining upon us this day. As our world is in turmoil as well, we remember to slow down and know that fear is always present. So hear these promises of God. Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your guide. My right hand will uphold you all the days of your life. Please pray with me now as we gather to celebrate Bob's life. Holy God, we gather here in your protective shelter, in your healing love. We are free to pour out our grief, and we are free to celebrate with joy because we know that you care and you abide with us, Holy God. We gather here as your people, conscious of others who have died and the frailty of our own human existence on earth. We come to comfort and to support one another in our common loss. We gather to hear your words of hope that can drive away our despair and move us to offer our praise and our love to one another. We gather to commend to you with thanksgiving the life of Bob Baca as we celebrate the good news of Christ, the love of all creation. We promise that we are yours and that you are ours. For whether we live or whether we die, we belong to you, who is Lord of life and love, both of the dead and of the living. And God, in your graciousness, fill us with compassion as we walk in the presence of a God who lives and is love in the land of the living. Fulfill our vows in the presence of all people that we might love one another this day and all of our days. Amen. And I would like to invite Reverend Cook to come forward. Reverend Cook is a minister, a retired clergy, Presbyterian Church of the Master, which he founded and built a beautiful community. And so many of you have been blessed by his ministry, even Countryside Community Church. So thank you so much for being with us. I would never exaggerate.
Yes, I was Maggie's pastor for a number of years, and I grew to like her a lot and sort of like her children. And no, they're wonderful. But we had a tradition in the church where I served that on Memorial Day Sunday and on other occasions such as this, we'd sing for all the saints who from their labors rest. And we would break between each stanza, and in those breaks, that pauses, we would lift up the names of our loved ones, our mothers, our fathers, our spouses, our children if they've passed. And they're all saints to us. They are all the daughters and sons of God. And so they rest, and we remember them. And so we just lift out their names, let them float through the room just freely, okay? So we'll sing the first stanza, we'll have a break. I didn't bring a hymn book. Oh, okay. wife, Ruth.
Sister Susan.
Yes.
My sister Susanna.
Grandmother Molly. Dad Blue. Our mother Rose Baca and father Maddie Baca.
11 at a chance. Okay. Oh, we were going to sing now, I guess. Or did I? My mother and father, John and Angie Cook.
My sister Colleen.
Great-grandmother Blanche.
My parents Dan and Cindy. My grandma Gloria and Grandpa Emerson.
My close friend's father, Jerry Lange.
God bless them all. And those who've gone unmentioned, God bless them. Yes, hallelujah.
Friends, Chaplain Mike McMahon, who probably you all know, who fills up the space with such humility and grace, is going to be leading us throughout this service of memory and celebration. And so we are thankful and honored by your presence with us. Thank you.
Well, it's an honor to be here with all of you and with Megan and many friends to celebrate. This is a celebration of life of Robert Ladislav Vaca. I smiled when I heard his middle name, and I could see Bob wandering through a Czech village and going into a pub or a cafe and holding forth with his beautiful stories of life and love, his humorous stories. So that name really hit me. But we're going to be sharing a number of songs and stories and poems, and all of them are key in Bob's life, or they're part of the story of Bob's life. So we're going to be kind of telling a story, and hopefully, to me, when I'm at a funeral of a great person, you feel the spirit rising. You feel that the life goes on and you see the stories go into us, and we receive Bob's greatness and goodness and kindness renewed, and especially the young people are having that rush over them. So that's what we're going to do today. So we'll begin with a reading from William Shakespeare's All the World's a Stage. And Bob was a particular fan of Shakespeare, and he introduced his high school students to Macbeth. Many of these were from the roughest neighborhoods in town, and they caught on to power politics well. So Arya Kopf is going to come up and share that.
All the World's a Stage by William Shakespeare. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have exits and their entrances. And one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and morning face, creeping like a snail, unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like a furnace, with a woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in a fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into a lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on his nose and pouch on side. His youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble. Pipes and whistles in his sound. The last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans eyes, sans ears, sans taste, sans everything.
Next, Bob did go to seminary. I don't know if people knew that. He spent several years there, and before deciding that that wasn't quite the life for him. So in honor of that, Brenda Sturzma is going to be singing the Ave Maria. Thank you, Brenda. That was beautiful. And the pianist? Do we have your name? Diane. Diane, thank you for, and the organ, too. I don't know if it's been clear. I'm a member of the Honey Locust Buddhist meditation group, which Bob and Megan were also part of, in addition to being Christian, good Christian people who have been so much a part of this church. They were also doing the Buddhist thing. So today, historically, in this space of Christian, Muslim, and Jewish, we've added Buddhism to the mix. Whether that may be too much, but that's where we're at. So one of our friends from that community, Patrice, wrote a lovely letter to Megan upon the death of Bob, and she's going to read that for us now.
This isn't exactly the letter, but it's the gist of it. 2 days before Easter this year, our beloved, dearly beloved Bob died. Megan and Bob were married on Easter, so for me it was always their wedding anniversary. And I think of their marriage as a miracle. A miracle right from the start, that they managed to see the perfection in each other. That they were able to smile in the midst of the storm of reasons why not at a time like that. That they realized that their oppositeness could give rise to harmony. And then there's the miracle of their flourishing in the years together. The bravery with which they burned bridges, attempted impossible things, and smiled at the occasional wreckage. True love is a good foundation for bravery, and bravery is the ticket to fully experiencing life. Bob and Megan were completely committed to walking through life together, helping each other along the way. Some would say that they walked a spiritual path together, but I like to think of it as the happiness path. Building a world of happiness in partnership. Every step helping each other move in the direction of happiness. They weren't perfect, no doubt, but they paid attention, and especially to each other, and they never gave up. What a treasure it was for them and for us all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Bob and Megan.
So I'm going to sing this about 4 times. And if you feel, I know some of you out there know this, but if you feel like singing it, please join in as you feel comfortable, or feel free to sit and listen. Like a Taizé service where you repeat it a number of times and it kind of sinks in. So we'll do that. And the spirit of this phrasing is a Buddhist teaching that we are not separate from one another, that we're all interconnected deeply. If we look deeply at life, we see ourselves in one another and in the ocean and the sky. And looking deeply that way, we see that all things go on and on and on in so many different ways. And we know that Bob goes on in our hearts and minds. And he'll come out every now and then. We'll see him. We'll say, that's Bob. So this is no coming, no going. No coming. no going, no after, no before. I hold you close to me, I release you to be so free, because I am in you and you are in me, because I am in you and you are in me. No coming, no going, no after, no before. I hold you close to me, I release you to be so free, because I am in you and you are in me, because I am in you and you are in me. No coming, no going, no after, no before. I hold you close to me, I release you to be so free, because I am in you and you are in me, because I am in you and you are in me. No coming, no going, no after, no before. I hold you close to me, I release you to be so free, because I am in you and you are in me, because I am in you and you are in me. Nice singing. I'm sure everyone knows the poem Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll and feels that that fits right into a good remembrance of life, service. And there's a good story. Bob, of course, was a wonderful English teacher and was very creative with his students. And one of the tasks he gave them was to memorize this poem and recite it in front of the class for extra credit. So in honor of that, we're going to hear Jabberwocky recited by Catherine Vaca Gage. Am I pronouncing that right? Okay.
"'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome rats outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jub-Jub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the maxim foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock, with eyes of flame, came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through, the vorpal blade went snicker-snack, He left it dead, and with his head he went galumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my Beamish boy. O frabjous stay, calloo, calais, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrabe.
Thank you, Catherine. Memorizing that would be a challenging assignment. And now, Bob's friend Ron Caniglio, he often performed in house concerts for Bob during his last months, and he's going to introduce his own song.
I met Bob over 50 years ago when Brother Gary and I started hanging out in high school and became friends. And Bob was always around from time to time, and especially over the last 9 to 10 years, Bob and I spent more and more opportunities to get together and have visits. And we had great talks. We talked about the things you weren't supposed to, politics, religion, stuff like that. And oftentimes during these talks, we would share life experiences and then analyze what they mean to us and what they mean to other folks. And one day I told him the story about how myself and 3 of my brothers, I'm one of 10, I have 4 brothers, myself and 3 of my brothers climbed the 1414ers in Colorado, which are the 14 tallest 14,000 foot mountains of Colorado. And on one of those trips up on Mount Massive, in the middle of the night, a storm came up and tore the rain fly off the tent. It's about 2 o'clock in the morning, tore the tent out of the ground, and we decided we had to go because there was lightning strikes all around us. And so we got out of the tent, and we stuffed everything and headed straight down the scree field, didn't even go to the trail. And by the time we got to the trees, one of my older brothers, Ray, turned to me. And at the time, he was a helicopter trauma nurse out in Denver. And he said, Ron, 2 weeks ago, I picked up 2 guys off that peak over there. They'd been hit by lightning. He said, the mountain doesn't care. It doesn't care if you have a good time. It doesn't care if you have a bad time. It doesn't care if you take great pictures or you fall off the side. He said, you have to make choices. And I thought that was a great analogy to life. And I shared that story with Bob. And that was the first time Bob told me that he thought happiness was a choice. That you get up every morning and you choose happiness. He goes, you don't know how the day's going to turn out. And I said, well, whereas my mother always said, life is what happens while you're making other plans. And he liked that one. And so out of that experience actually came this tune, and it's called The Mountain Doesn't Care. Clashed in the night as the driving rain pelted down. Ray said, we got to go, the worst is yet to come, because the mountain is the mountain and the mountain doesn't care. No, the mountain doesn't care if you love the vistas there, or you're swept over the side down 1,000 feet of air. No, the mountain's just the mountain, and the mountain doesn't care. Their wedding was perfect, the groom a gentleman. He hit her on their first night home. Mama said, you must go, the worst is yet to come, because the mountain is the mountain, and the mountain doesn't care. No, the mountain doesn't care if you love the vistas there, or you're swept over the side down 1,000 feet of air. No, the mountain's just the mountain, and the mountain doesn't care. She said, it's fine if I never see our dad. I'll have no regrets the day he dies. Missy said, you must come, his time is getting short, because the mountain is the mountain, and the mountain doesn't care. She said, stay, my bed is soft and warm, as her auburn hair tumbled down. Laura said, you must stay, the time is getting short, because the mountain is the mountain doesn't care. No, the mountain doesn't care, but my love I'll always share. Though life can be hard, oft times filled with fear, yes, the mountain is the mountain, but my love is always near.
Thank you, Ron. It's a beautiful song. Reminds me of Bob. Looks like I'm up next. If you want the true eulogy for Bob, if you look in the program, Megan wrote a beautiful, thorough eulogy, very poetic and very much to the heart of Bob, and I kind of picked stuff from it. So this is really, go and read that, and you can listen to this now too. So Robert Ladislav Vaca was born on September 18th, 1951. He died on April 18th, 2025 at the hospice house. And I know his wonderful wife and some brothers and sisters were there. They'd been there in the house for, I don't know if it was a month or how long. Brothers and sisters gathered and helped care for Bob. And you could tell from that, you could tell how loving Bob was because of how he was loved. And I was glad that he had that love at that time. He was born in Kearney, Nebraska, to a sharecropper named Ladislav also. They called him Laddie, and his wife Rose. He was the eldest of 6 children. There are many stories of Bob being a great support and help to his younger brothers and sisters. When Bob was 12, there was a fire in the house at night. Bob discovered it first and went around waking up every member of the family and making sure they got to safety. Afterwards, Bob went to the hospital for treatment of the burns on his hands. Bob was the first in his family to attend and graduate from college. Afterward, he entered the seminary to study for the priesthood. He was ordained a deacon and served teaching English for 4 years at Bishop Newman High School in Wahoo, Nebraska. After 4 years of deep contemplation, Bob decided that the priesthood was not the life that he was supposed to live and made the difficult decision to leave the seminary. To help him process this deep loss in life and contemplate his future path, Bob took a note from Zen in the art of motorcycle maintenance and spent a year traversing the United States on his motorcycle. Following this, he spent time living and working with his brothers in the Virgin Islands. This was his hippie phase. Bob discovered that teaching was his true calling. He spent the next 40 years instilling the love of reading and writing in the hearts and minds of the young people of Boys Town High School. He earned the humorous and affectionate nickname of Thug Whisperer, one who whispers to thugs and takes care of them. According to his gift of inspiring students who tended to be detached and disinterested. One way he accomplished this was dressing as the authors and characters they were studying and playing these roles in the class. It worked. He received many letters of gratitude from students reflecting on the positive effect Bob, the teacher, had on their lives. One such student wrote that Bob had opened his eyes to life. One evening I was visiting Bob and Megan, and the subject of Bob's home renovation work came up. I learned that Bob not only rehabbed homes, he built them from scratch by himself. He taught himself to do this by reading books. I said to them, but not the plumbing and electrical. And they said, yeah, he did all of that. He did the whole thing. And I can't imagine. Yes, he did the plumbing and electrical, every pipe and every wire, by himself. He did this several times and then taught his sons the skill. They built a number of homes for their relatives. Bob was a founding member of the Tri-Faith Initiative, where Countryside Community Church is the Christian presence. So this is another house that Bob built. I don't know if he did the physical work. He might have. No, I don't think he did. I know Bob because he and Megan were among the original members of our mindfulness meditation group, the Honey Locust Sangha. First it was Megan. Then we heard there was this guy in her building who had been asking her out. Soon it was Megan and Bob, and it's been that way ever since. Their steady, mature presence was one of the foundations Honey Locust Sangha was built upon. My primary knowledge and experience of Bob comes from seeing him at our meditation gatherings. I have very dear memories of Bob's many sharings, which were always deep and warm and frequently funny. Some of the best stories were about his adventures as an English teacher at Boys Town. It was very moving to think of Bob being with these young people and sharing his warmth and wisdom with them. At least this time in life, they were lucky. They had Bob as their teacher. Beyond anything Bob did or said, it was his sweetness and his kindness and his warmth, which you always felt just by his being present. He was always radiating love out into the world. And now we have a song from Anna Vaka Fancher, niece. Please correct my pronunciation. She's going to sing Amazing Grace. Is she with us today? Oh, okay, take your time. Okay. Did I get the last name right? What's that? Well, you can tell us yourself when you get up there.
Blind, but now I see. grace appear. The hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils and snares, I have already gone. 'Tis grace hath brought me safe thus far, and grace will lead me home.
Do you want to tell us about this picture that you just put up here? Oh. God, he's good looking. No, he really looks hot in this picture. So you come by and look at it. And now Bob's nephew, John, will come up and share some words of remembrance from family and friends.
All right, thank you. Yeah, I've been asked to ask people to come up and just share a short story or a remembrance that you have of Bob. But while I'm up here, I'll share a quick story, and then my dad, Steve, will come up and share something after that, and then welcome it to anybody else to come up for a short story. It's supposed to be told short. And then there'll be plenty of time downstairs to share stories as well. But so yeah, I grew up with Bob building houses. There was one house in Lakeland that we were building. I remember we were framing, putting up trusses. So we were both on a ladder, and we were on either side of a wall. And Bob was holding the truss, and I was on the other side of the wall, facing him with a nail gun. What happened was, I don't remember exactly what happened, but somehow when I nailed it, it bounced off the wood and hit Bob right in the chest, like right across from me. And he went, oh, like, you know, in a Western, like, feeling like, John, you shot me. And then the nail had turned sideways and just hit him, so he ended up just having a bad bruise, so it didn't go in. But that was a very memorable story that I have of Bob. But I learned a lot from him. After I shot Bob, he stopped trying to tell me how to run my life. But he was more of like I learned from him just as a role model, just as watching him and how he treated other people, how he always treated me with just such respect and kindness. That's kind of what I had to say about Bob. So, yep. Dad, if you want to come up.
Bill, Joyce's husband, said to me, does it seem like he's gone? And you know, it does. But it also seems like he's here. I'm going to start to what has been recently and work back. Bob past with the one he wanted to. Megan was with Bob when he passed. And there couldn't have been a better person, because the two of them had learned to become one. The two of them, somebody had mentioned, they were so different. They were. And they so respected each other. And it was wonderful to see. Wonderful to see. Molly, my wife, who is recovering from a surgery, would love to be here. She has known Bob a long time. We went to see Bob about 3 days before he died, and he wasn't speaking anymore. And we were just with him. We were talking, and after we had talked for maybe 20 minutes and held his hand, Molly said, "Good night, Bob." And from somewhere in there, he said, "Good night." It was wonderful words to hear. And you know, when you say goodnight to somebody, you expect to see him again. And that's the way he said goodnight. And, you know, I won't see him here. None of us will. But we will be with him. And we are with him. Megan and Bob were way up there. They live in the present. There is no future. There is no past. There is just the present. And that really is all there is. And Bob is so present here. Now, Bob says goodnight to us. And that was a perfect example of who Bob was. He was such a gentle man. I don't know if I ever knew a more gentle man. In his later years. He had grown. And, you know, if there's one thing I would say about Bob, is he knew how to pass on. He passed things on. That's why he was a teacher. He was passing things on to those kids. And he wasn't afraid to pass them on to his younger brothers, right, Gary? And you know, it worked. Bob comes from Ladislav Vaca and from Rose Tweehouse. That's a Bohemian marrying a German. And I tell you what, those are two opposites in a lot of ways. And that's who all of us kids are. Bob was the Bohemian body. He was thick and he was strong. But he had the Tweehouse mind. He was sharp. I don't know if I've met too many people sharper than Bob. And through his life, he struggled to find who he was. Bob never stopped searching. Right before he died, we talked about death, and death was something that he wondered about. But he was never, I don't think, afraid of it. Now, there's one more thing I meant to say. There are two people who brought Bob to this peace. One was Gary. Gary spent 4 months with Bob, and his wife, Sue, was there for about a month. And Megan. They brought him to that place. Now, where did he come from? Bob, I would say he was a teacher and he was a builder. He loved to build things. He loved to do things in his shop. You know, Bob, when he left the Virgin Islands, he came back to Omaha. He's almost 30. He has no money. He's never really had a job. And so he moves into a little trailer, a little dumpy trailer. And I found this little dumpy house next to one of the houses I owned. I said, Bob, you want to buy this house? And you know what Bob did? He bought that house. And I mean to tell you, when we tore the paneling off that house, there were things moving underneath that paneling that I don't want to tell you what they were. Well, Bob's very beautiful first wife, Maggie, moved into that house with him. And they lived in that house. Well, he was in that house for a little bit, and he wanted to buy another house. So he bought another house, fixed it up, and then he wanted to build a house. What do you mean build a house, Bob? How are you going to build a house? He said, well, I just need some money. Well, I happen to be the contractor. I got the funds, and we built a house. And that's who Bob was. He wasn't afraid to step out and do something. And that's what many of us celebrate about Bob. Well, there came a time where my wife and our 6 children needed a house. And Bob and I were actually working at Nebraska Furniture Mart. And in between our breaks, we'd sit there on napkins and we'd write out plans on how to build a house. And I'd be damned if Bob and I and John, very much part of that, and his sons, Joe and Ben, we built this house. And that's who Bob was. Now, where is Bob born? 1951. He's born on a little farm. My father and mother are renting it. And it is just a dumpy little house. He lives for the first 4 years by himself with 2 very turbulent people in his life. That's kind of where Bob comes from, too. Bob wasn't afraid to be by himself. So Bob graduates from college. Oh, let me tell you this story. He is ready to go to college. Well, my parents separate. My mother has 6 children. Bob says, oh, I'm staying home. I'm not going to school. My mother said, no, you're not. Because that's the history of the family. The oldest kid picks up the problems. She said, you're going off to school. So off to Kearney, he goes to college. And he went to college for 3 years. He comes back, has one more year. At that time, I'm a senior in high school. And Bob and I share a room, and I say, you know, Bob, I decided what I'm going to do. He says, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go to a seminary. I thought he was going to ask me, what does that mean? And he said, I am too. And I thought he was kind of joshing with me. But there we were. We both decided to go there, separate ways. And so we both went to the seminary at the same time, and we spent the next, we have spent the last 45 years talking theology. I'm going to miss talking theology with Bob. But you know, he is theology. He was God amongst us. We see God in each other. And I am just thankful that we had Bob in our midst. And I'm so thankful for all of you to come here and celebrate Bob. And one last thing I want to say, if you see Henry Ladislav Vaca walking around, you will see Bob at about 4 or 5 years old right there. That's Bob's grandson. Did you love your grandpa?
Yes.
Yeah. What'd you think about your grandpa? Was he funny sometimes?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was. Well, you're very brave to come up here. And what's your middle name? Ladislav?
Ladislav.
Yeah. All right. It grows on. All right. Thank you all. Does anybody else want to come up and share? And yes, please come.
While we are on a Bob construction story kick, I just wanted to talk about one of the most beautiful, stretches of times that I spent with him. Starting out, it's been well established that Bob was a builder, a renovator, carpenter of all sorts, and he had built an extension onto his home with Megan. But what wasn't finished was the deck extension to go along with it. And I don't know, I don't feel like bashing my own grandmother too much, but long story short, up until when we both, well, not we both, but he knew his time was short on this earth. And so he decided, let's get this deck finished. And for a minute there, I had been working, just doing yard work, odd jobs for them while at school, so I could, pay for gas, have a commute, all that. And he thought I was the perfect candidate to, be taught how to construct their deck. And I think it is a beautifully poetic thing how even in his last moments, he was still passing off his knowledge of construction, carpentry, and even ethics, hard work. And I still remember, and I think about a lot of the conversations we had out in the sun, him watching me work, telling dirty jokes to try and break the tension, that it was somber, that bittersweet tension that we both knew this would be the last project that he would do. And after it was all said and done, I finished up the deck and all that. Well, I didn't finish. This guy, he did the finishing touches, but which one am I talking to here? I don't know. But after that was all done, it was the last day before he went into hospice care. He was bedridden, didn't speak much, and we all did. All the family went into and said some last words that they thought he would like to hear. And I just told him how much it meant to me, the lessons he taught and the experiences that he showed me, and how they've really stuck with me. And I didn't expect him to say anything back, but he said, "You're a good man," and those words have stuck with me, and I just want to make my part to move on and keep on being a good man, make this world a better place in his honor. Now, who wants next? Who's up?
Hello, my name is Joyce, and I am Bob's younger sister, for those of you that don't know. There were 3 boys and then 3 girls, and I was the oldest girl. And I have a couple different stories to tie into what's been shared. The first one is how Bob passes on his wisdom. I don't know if it's more of a story of his wisdom or my fickleness, probably both. But Bob was 10 years older than me, and when I was 19, I had actually gone to college for about a year into sociology and realized if I was going to do anything with that, I'd be in school a very long time. And I was talking to Bob and kind of sharing my heart of what I wanted to do. And nobody in our family had ever been in the medical field. That just wasn't a piece of what we did. And he goes, you know, nurses make a lot of money down here in Florida, and they can travel and go anywhere. And I thought, bingo, I'll be a nurse. And consequently, that's the path they took, and that's what I've been all my life. But it was just that, you know, simple, willing to listen to what was important to me and helping me make those decisions. And then the other thing is, years later, when I married my beloved, we're sitting around our table. We had just had our little girl, Lydia, and talking about houses. And Bob goes, well, why don't I build you a house? And I go, like, what do you mean, right? And so from that moment on, he was the primary contractor, along with the support of Steve and, of course, my husband and my nephews. All gave their pound of flesh. And less than a year later, we had a house. And so it was really incredible that he was willing to give of himself to family in that kind of way and to support our goals. And he will be missed. Thank you.
My name's Ben. I'm Bob's youngest son. We've heard a lot of stories today about my dad getting high schoolers to do work for him. we've also heard a lot of stories about my dad with his family, which have been wonderful. And this is going 30 years back when my brother and I were 4, 6, we're rowdy little boys, and, we've got the world's best jungle gym in my dad, right? And so we're throwing ourselves at him, tackling him. Turns out most of the time we're doing that, he's stretching. So he's working on his lower back, and every once in a while he's a dinosaur, and we attack the dinosaur, right? Until one of us is too slow and he grabs us, right? And then we're trapped and he's stretching, and how are we gonna escape? The only way to escape was to have your brother come help you, right? So that's one of my main takeaways, is be there for the people you love, and that's how you escape. That's the good stuff. Well, thanks.
It's about time we stopped hearing from the family. Bob and I first met at Wahoo Newman. He was 1 year ahead of me, and then he graduated, and then some years later we ran into each other at St. Charles Borromeo Seminary in Philadelphia. It was not a real happy place. The diocese there, the only students that went there was from Philadelphia and Allentown. And so our bishop from Lincoln and some other bishops decided that we needed to go to Philadelphia as well. And so our introduction there was that the rector welcomed all the seminarians from Philadelphia, and then he said, and I'd also like to welcome you outsiders. So I only spent 2 years there, while Bob spent the total of 3 years. And we would deal with our frustration by playing racquetball against each other. I could never win, but it helped our stay there. And I'm not sure if I have this story right. I think it's about Ben. We went for a meal over their house, and I think maybe he was 4, and he got mad at Bob for some reason, and he started cutting blooms off the flowers that Bob had so carefully planted. And Bob wasn't too happy about that. So after I left the seminary, I ran into Bob again when he was teaching at Boys Town. And I was working in Lincoln, and he was there at Boys Town. So we got together for some racquetball games. And so after he was done with school, I would come in and we'd play racquetball. And again, I couldn't beat him. And I'm surprised that the family hasn't brought up the game of sheep's head. Steve and Bob and I used to get together, and somebody would bring the beer, I'd bring the pennies, and we'd shoot it out for about 3 hours. And there's one last thing that I wanted to say. Well, I can't think of it now, but I'll certainly miss Bob.
This is going on for so long, but Bob is so awesome, so it deserves it. So a theme that I'm hearing a lot is that people were inspired by Bob to grow. And I would like everyone to say, who here feels like Bob inspired them to grow? Yes. Yes. He gave us the opportunity to be able to go to school and college. I know as a young woman or a teenager, Bob would always actually listen to me and reflect what I was saying, actually listen, and really have a conversation with me like I mattered, which was really informative and amazing throughout my life. So I did theater for a while, and I went to Boys Town and did a very small, condensed Macbeth play in front of him and his students. And it was so amazing because here's all these students. They're watching this. Bob's there sitting, and he talks to me back and forth about what does this play mean, and talking to me about it, and talking to all the cast members, and then all of the students. And everybody in the entire room, I mean, it's probably like 60 people, super engaged in this idea about what is the meaning of Macbeth, which, I don't know if that, yeah. But it's a deep meaning. It's deep. He cared about that so much. And I think that he started a legacy in the Vaca Twee House family of people getting advanced degrees. It's amazing how many people here have advanced degrees. And not that that matters at all, but it's so amazing. So thank you, Bob, for inspiring change and growth in the family.
Well, friends, Bob was beloved and is loved, and you have many more stories in you. Yes? Right? And there will be card playing maybe at some point in this world of finishing telling stories. As we're, the gentleman who was just up here talking about the seminary experience and couldn't quite find the next story, following the service downstairs in Mary's Hall, there will be opportunities to continue to tell stories together. But even as you gather around tables and you leave as family and friends, Bob's Spirit will live with you and in you. So keep telling those stories, because that's what it means to grow and live into who we're called to be. And you know that better than I, as someone who has lived and been touched by Bob. So as we close this particular celebration, I do want us to pray together, knowing that God and Spirit is with and within us, and that Spirit that exists in Bob is living in us, and calling us to faithfully live the same kind of life, the same kind of joy, that we might choose happiness for ourselves. So let us pray together. O God, our strength and our Redeemer, giver of life and conqueror of death, we praise you with humble hearts. With faith in your great mercy and wisdom, we entrust Bob to your eternal care. We praise you for your steadfast love for him all the days of his earthly life. We thank you for all that he was and is to those who love him, and for his faithfulness and living each day with integrity to the fullness that was in front of him. We thank you that for Bob, all sickness and sorrow are ended, and death itself is past, and that he has entered into eternal peace, where your people are gathered in spirit and joy in communion. Keep us all in communion with your faithful people in every time and place in the present, that at last we may rejoice together with all who are loved and are beloved, all of your people, all of creation. God of all mercies and all comfort, in tender love and compassion, embrace your sorrowing servants. Bring their joy as a delight unto one another. Be their refuge and their strength. Be present with them as they too commit to further growth in love and life. Show them the peace and gentleness and the love that you possess, that they might also receive. And God, who is love and who brings us into your love, be peace with us today and every day. Amen. Again, following this time, you are invited to go downstairs to continue telling stories and enjoy the refreshments right outside these doors, down the stairs, or in the elevator. Hear now a blessing. May God bless you and keep you. May God make God's face to shine upon you and call you blessed. And may the Spirit of God, the Spirit of love, and the fellowship of peace guard your hearts and your minds this day and every day. Go remembering that you are loved and that Bob is shining down upon you. Thanks be to God. Amen.